Good evening and welcome to Business. My name is Clive Romatibula Smith. Joining me in studio this evening is an entrepreneur who's determined to make things roll in the entrepreneurial business. I'm joined by the young man, Mduduzi Nkosi. He grew up in Mpumalanga in a disadvantaged background. Regardless of his challenges, he went to achieve well against the odds. He wrote and published a book called Raising Generation of Business-Minded People. Mduduzi, how does a young person like you write a book that tells us about entrepreneurship?
Okay, yeah. I've seen many young people where I come from, especially those who went to school to graduate and everything. They came back from all the institutions of the higher education. They studied and now they've got their certificates, their diplomas, their degrees, you name them. And then now when they come back, they are faced with this thing that we call unemployment. Now I've sat down and said, what is it that must be done actually? So I decided to write a book against the system of going to school, studying and finding a job. So I decided to say, let me inspire young people, motivate and educate them on entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is one of the engine for economic development and sustainability. So we need more entrepreneurs in our societies. We need more entrepreneurs to fight against poverty, to eradicate poverty, and to eliminate the unemployment rate.
Yeah. So let's talk about entrepreneurship. Obviously, it is a very lovely thought. Whether you do small, medium enterprise, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But we know in this country that after a year, 2 years, many small startups start to fail in terms of making sure that they sustain themselves in a monetary value. How do you then inspire those particular people to carry on despite the odds?
I'm an entrepreneur and I'm running an entrepreneurship company. So the problem with many young people is that when they want to start businesses, they first go for funding and they don't learn about entrepreneurship. You need first to learn about entrepreneurship. You need to be taught about entrepreneurship. You need to attend seminars, workshops where you learn about entrepreneurship. So young people first run for funding, and when they get the money, after a year, 12 months, 24 months, the business closes down. So we need knowledge. We need to be deeply rooted on this thing of entrepreneurship. We need to be taught.
What are the 3 key elements that you think entrepreneurs can learn that will help them to sustain their businesses in the long term?
Number 1, I would say having a vision. They normally say where there's no vision, the people perish. So a vision will drive you. Number 2, you must have a goal, something to work on, long-term goal, short-term goal, or medium goal. So we need to have a vision and a goal. So if an entrepreneur has these 2 things, I don't see him or her failing. So you need to have a vision of who you want to be, and you must have a goal. You must be a goal-driven entrepreneur.
You know, we talk many times about how we would love to go into business, but when you're comfortable and you're working for an institution, it's very difficult to branch out and start your own business. What do you say to young people who are stuck in a job and they're afraid to take the risk of going on to becoming entrepreneurs and becoming more independent?
I've said this, and I'm going to say it again. I'm saying there are many faithful poor employees today because of fear. Fear brings out the worst in you, but the ability to take risk, it ignites the you in you, and then you start not to fear. So I'm saying to young people who are already maybe working, or young people who are already at school looking forward to heading to the working place, I'm saying to them, stop fearing. Don't be a fearful person. You need to take risk. A business needs people who are willing to take risks. So I'm saying to young people, be fearless. Stand up and go start your own business. Yeah.
What can you tell me about your book, Raising a Generation of Business-Minded People? What would be the key features for anybody who's going to be buying or who's going to be reading this particular book that you've written?
One of the most important things about the book is that it changes the mindset of our young people. The way how we think. it changes that altogether. First, in the introduction, I explain something about the system, going to school, finding a job, and then leaving for debts and then retire and all those things. So I'm explaining how the system has made us mediocre people. So I'm first explaining, laying a foundation of the system. Secondly, I'm saying don't live for bills, but live life. Don't live for survival, but actually live life to the fullest. So I'm explaining how entrepreneurship will enable us to that life. Because working for a paycheck after paycheck, it leads us to the life of mediocrity and paying bills all the time. So I'm saying to young people, this book, it's a must-read book for young people. Whether you're still at school or you're working, it must be read, this book. Yeah, changing the mindset of our young people.
You know, what I appreciate the most is that you're a young individual yourself, you are involved in construction, you're involved in entrepreneurial development, and it is inspiring to speak to people like you, because you not only come from Gauteng, which is expected to be the hub where every entrepreneur should be coming from, but you come from Mpumalanga. How do people get a hold of you?
I'm there on Facebook.
Yeah.
And my book is available already in exclusive.
Yeah.
And CNAs in all the airports in South Africa.
Gee whiz.
So I'm available on Facebook, Mduduzi John, and then the company's Facebook page is Raising a Generation of Business-Minded People.